All right, welcome back to Yard Work with Landon Hutchison and I, and we've got Randy Merryman with us today, Midwest Nationals. He's a part of Mid-America Baseball, and the Midwest Nationals are one of the top programs in the country. They're part of the Premier League out there. Thanks for coming on, Randy.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
We were just talking that you're looking outside and, probably in your fancy sweatpants, but the pandemic thing's not changing your wardrobe, which is, probably good for all of us. But tell us a little bit about the Nationals, kind of what you guys are doing to keep your guys involved. I know I told Landon that you're kind of the jack of all trades over there as far as maybe a facility operator, got the program to worry about, some travel stuff to worry about, doing scouting and things like that as well.
Yeah, all of it obviously is shut down. I was at spring training with the Rangers the first week of March, right before they shut that stuff down. And then the last operations that we had in our indoor facility or team-wise was March the 14th. And so it's been quite a while. We are right now just sending a lot of correspondence, emails, and things for the kids to do, having the kids send in videos of what they're doing at home, working out, just trying to keep everybody positive and help them to see that that someday there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel, and just try to stay in the best shape that they can for baseball.
Are you guys still trying to figure out if they're going to do a spring season for the high school side of it?
They are. They're overly optimistic. They're trying to hang on. The state athletic department keeps sending emails out saying we're not canceling, but we keep pushing school back further and further of when they're going back. So I don't know. It's kind of bittersweet. My son is a junior on the number 1 ranked large school team in the state, and they really they took 3rd last year. Think they're going to win the state championship and haven't been able to play or anything. So I'm dealing with that side under my own roof as well. But man, I don't know if they're going to be able to do this or not. If the kids don't go back to school, then I don't see any way how they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I know most of the states we've kind of talked to here, everything's been under the extended quarantine stuff till May 1. I talked to a guy from Illinois yesterday, one of the travel teams in our events, and he was kind of asking what Indiana's doing. And I don't know that it's going to clear up quick enough for these guys to get back in school May 1 to have some portion of a season or not, which kind of brings us to a lot of what we talked about is our concern for the pitchers. Maybe those first couple weeks of the summer, if we're able to play late May and early June, if that means we should change the format of some of those events to eliminate bracket play and stuff like that, and treat that almost as a 2 or 3 week spring training session for a lot of these guys, just from a safety point for the pitchers.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Major League Baseball, whenever they decide to go back, they're going to do that. They're going to have a 2 or 3 week spring training to try to get the pitchers some work. All the hitters are ready to go. For the most part, they're just trying to do that with the pitchers. I think that's going to be a smart idea, is to, limit the stress on that, and maybe have a longer season, go, further into August, and maybe have an extended fall season to give the non-football players, but the kids that miss their spring season, a little bit more games.
Yeah. How are the, for you guys, you've got a lot of the seniors on, the 18U team, and these guys may have their season wiped out. Have you guys had to talk to those guys about, how that plays into the recruiting process for any unsigned seniors?
We have. Fortunately for us, we were in pretty good shape with that. We've got 2 kids. We had 18 kids in our senior class. We had 2 kids that are uncommitted currently, kind of deals on the back burners. But, with what the NCAA is doing, granting the 5th year eligibility for those guys, it's going to be a trickle-down effect. And the guys that are going to be impacted are a little bit of the lower level guys, because, in my opinion, every level of baseball is going to get better. The D1 guys, some of your incoming freshmen maybe choose not to go there because all of the 5th year seniors are coming back. And so they may go to junior college. So the junior college programs are going to get stronger. The D programs are going to get stronger. And, the guys that are left out are probably a little bit more of lower NAIA kind of guys, D3 JUCO guys probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Randy, what's your like model that you guys use? Are you strictly 15U, 16U team, or is it the 15, 16U combined? That kind of thing. And then travel wise, how do you guys travel and whatnot?
For us, this is our 19th year. We're one of the old programs in the country. We go from what we call competitive baseball, which is when they start, playing, steals and leads and all that stuff. So we go 9U all the way through a college team, and we keep our teams age-based, grade-based, unless there's an absolute outlier. So, for instance, on our top 17U team, there's one 16U player, and that's it. And everybody else is in their same grade. And so what we and most of our 18U guys at this point started about 2 or 3 years ago are playing in a collegiate league. Especially if they're a Division I guy, they're playing in a collegiate league somewhere, and they're playing up until July 1, and then enrolling in summer school. Obviously, I don't know how that's going to work now. All that stuff may change, but so the 18U kind of travel circuit for us is really not in effect the last couple of years. Those guys are all playing in college leagues locally. And but our 17U team and down, our 15, 16, 17U team, we're one of the few teams in the country that team travels. We when we go outside of 3 hours from Springfield, we put them on a bus and put 4 guys in a hotel room and try to give them a little taste of college baseball, what that's going to be like. And we generally play half of our schedule within 3 hours of Springfield. Fortunately for us, there's 10 Division I schools and 10 Division II schools within 3 hours. So the kids get a lot of eyes on them at that point, and people looking at them. And then we try to do about 4 or 5 large national events, come to the Pastime at Louisville, Pastime at Nashville, those type of places. We've played in Baton Rouge at the Marucci, some of those events. And right now, we're acting like it's a normal summer until we get to that point where it won't be. And right now, the parents have been very good about, working with us, talking, saying, hey, just let us know when things start happening. But this was supposed to be our opening weekend for our young kids. We always open up the first week of April, and we start by going to Fayetteville, which is 2 hours away from Springfield. And we had tickets for all our youth families to watch the Razorbacks and the Gators play at Baum Stadium. And then we play in a tournament in Northwest Arkansas. And so we haven't missed anything yet, but come Friday, we're going to start missing games and things, and then we'll adjust from there.
What's the since you're one of the old guys in this thing, what's changed the most since you guys started in 2001 to now from that travel ball perspective, whether it's the tournaments or the experience, the length of time, anything like that?
I think there are a million times more teams.
Yeah.
When I started, there was no travel team in the state of Arkansas, no travel team in the state of Oklahoma. And I was drawing players from 5, 6, 7 hours away to come. And now there's a quote unquote travel team almost on every street corner everywhere. People trying to do it. So it's kind of, we got into the travel ball thing to get away from some of the old, like American Legion type kind of stale, all kids from one school staying together, and it wasn't as competitive. And now it's kind of circled back to that. So, I don't know what the next phase is for the competitive travel teams, if there is another phase, or if this is just kind of the world we live in. But I would say that what's changed the most is how competitive all the teams, were back then, because there were so few of them. And, we would have a circuit of 8 weekends, and all the same teams would go. It would be the Midwest Nationals. It would be the Rawlings Prospects. It would be the Wichita Sluggers. It would be R.J. Fergus and the Wisconsin Hitters would come down, and one weekend would be at SLU, and one weekend would be at Mizzou, and one weekend would be at KU, and we would play each other. And, like in 2003, we played the St. Louis Prospects 8 consecutive weekends at different venues. And at one game, we had 5 first-round draft picks. You know, the Prospects had Max Scherzer and those guys, and we had Scott Elbert, Blake Parker, and Dallas Keuchel, and those kind of guys. And really, unless you go to kind of maybe a Jupiter type of event where some guys are fielding some all-star teams, you don't really get that feel anymore. And so I think overall the competitive level has went down a little bit, and I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think a lot of kids are getting opportunities to play in places that when we started in 2001, it literally was, you went to Mizzou, you played all your games at Mizzou, there were 6 teams there, and that's it. And obviously it's grown into something way, way bigger. And but like I said, I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think it's given more kids opportunities to play. And I hope, guys like Landon, I hope their teams are better, college teams are better because of it, because kids are getting out, playing. And I would think that the level of college baseball has gotten better over those years as well.
Yeah, when we talk to like college coaches and even like the area scout guys, that's one thing they bring up is, baseball is very watered down now, and we always talk about, is that a good or a bad thing? And I think you're right. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it creates a situation where us as tournament hosts, whether it's a Pastime event or Mid-America, where we really do have to focus on, let's pools A, B, and C. These are maybe the 15 best teams in the event, and you pull that light competition so you avoid run rules and things like that every game. But it also gives those second, even third tier guys the opportunity to play against guys that are at the same capability as them, and maybe they're going to go to the same Division III or NAIA type programs that they're not getting ran over by a Division I type of guy throwing 92 or 93 every game.
Yeah, I think somebody asked me recently, kind of a similar question, and I don't think we're ever going to get back to that time of the late 90s, early 2000s of travel ball. I just think that we've opened the box and it is what it is. But I think that like from 2000 to like 2007 was kind of the peak of you had fewer travel teams and more competitive. All the players were on good certain teams. And I think after 2007, from like 07 to 2012, 2013, you started to see the shift. And then I would kind of, at least in this area, I would kind of put the number as right around 2012 or 2013. It really, really got watered down. And again, the tournament providers have done a pretty good job of separating guys to, where you're not beating up on teams that maybe need to be in a different level and putting everybody together. And so that's helped. But like I said, I mean, I'm a baseball coach. That's really what my passion is. And if that's the case, then giving kids opportunities to play and develop, and maybe a kid that, wouldn't have had a chance to play college baseball, but because he's on a travel team and gets to play in some tournaments, gets better and gets to live out that dream, I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
Randy, you are a baseball coach, but if there was one sport that wasn't baseball that you would coach, what would it be?
Well, in a former life, I was also a football coach. I was a high school baseball and football coach, and I really liked that. As far as Friday nights go, I tell everybody, I was a high school football player, and then I coached high school football, and there's nothing like Friday nights, but all the other stuff sucks about it really bad. All the other practices and the 2-a-days and all that stuff. But I really enjoyed the Friday nights. I was offensive coordinator at a pretty good sized school here, and then the baseball coach before I started the Nationals and got into scouting. And football was fun. I took my 3 sons out for the first time yesterday and tried to play a little golf with them, and that was a disaster. So I don't want to try to coach golf. And my kids are fairly athletic, and they all play baseball, but it was a real struggle out there, and my patience wasn't too good. So I guess I'd have to say football because I have a little bit of experience there.
Are you an advocate of having your guys, even within the nationals, play multiple sports if they're a two-way or a three-way kind of guy?
I am, especially up until the time where they can maybe tell that they're able to specialize and get into college at a high level. You know,
Yeah.
if you're a guy that you know, you start trending as a maybe a 16-year-old, 17-year-old as you know, a really good baseball player, then maybe it's time to give up something. I played 3 sports again. I was 100 years ago, but I really like having the guys be able to do that. You know, I think a kid that can, you know, knock down free throws with a second on the clock is a guy that I want up to bat in the last inning, or, you know, with the ball on the mound late. So I think if kids can manage it, it's good. But I do tell all the kids that do that, you know, baseball is a different sport. I mean, you know, you, me, and Landon could go out, you know, find a basketball hoop, play a little basketball, and be okay. You know, I mean, we have a clue what we're doing, but I know that I wouldn't be able to step in the box and hit anything over about 75 right now. And baseball is a different sport. So if you're going to play multiple sports, you need to make sure that you're in there training in the winter, you know, and you know, hitting a little bit, throwing a little bit, staying in shape. But I am an advocate of guys playing multiple sports.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my 7-year-old daughter. She wants to do everything, so she does soccer and she's really good at tennis. So she at 7, she's playing with the 9 and 10-year-olds for tennis, and she wants to go play golf. And now she's figured out what football is, and she wants to play flag football first, and then she wants to be on a football team. And I'm like, let's calm down here, because you know, yesterday I'm the coach right now for soccer for a 7-year-old, where I stopped playing soccer when I was probably 6 or 7, and then just did baseball the rest of the way. And I looked at Risa and I was like, look, I'm not cut out to coach a 7-year-old right now. This is
Yeah,
just,
that's tough.
we're gonna have to do some online training tools.
It's tough for sure. And, you know, some of that stuff will get weeded out naturally. You know, like my kids go to one of the biggest schools in the state of Missouri, and my oldest, he played football through 8th grade, and then by the time he got to freshman year, that wasn't going to happen. And he played basketball through his freshman year. But, you know, all these commitments are so difficult. You know, the basketball coach basically said, if you miss any off-season basketball stuff, don't bother coming out. And, you know, he was a guy who liked baseball more, and he knew he was going to miss some stuff in the summer. And so, you know, by the time he was a sophomore, he was a one-sport guy. But all that kind of weeded itself out naturally by the commitments that the school had, you know. And different schools have different structures, but, you know, the football program, they want to be really good, and the basketball program wants to be really good. And so they're going to have, you know, requirements on those kids. And so some of that stuff will just happen, you know, as they get a little bit older.
What are some of the things, Randy, that some of your players have been doing during this time to kind of stay in shape, or what have you guys recommended for them to do since they can't get to a facility? You guys have a great one, but you know they can't get in it. So, what are some of the things they've been doing?
You know, I've been showing my age a little bit, and like sending the guys some clips of, you know, Herschel Walker. You know, back in the day, Herschel Walker's claim to fame was that he was addicted to soap operas. You know, back the old days of our lives, and, you know, that kind of stuff. He would watch TV for 8 hours a day, and in the commercial breaks, he would do sit-ups and push-ups. And by the end of the day, he'd do 3,000 sit-ups and 1,500 push-ups. You know, and the guy never lifted a weight, and, you know, was a Heisman Trophy guy and NFL guy. And, you know, I've sent him some clips of, you know, Rocky Balboa, you know, moving logs and doing that kind of stuff, and just telling them to try to get creative in their training. You know, a lot of these kids have some little nets in their garage or in their yard that they can hit into. I sent them the clip of Joey Gallo. You know, I'm a Rangers guy, and I'd sent him, Joey Gallo was sitting in his apartment in downtown Dallas. He had a net there, and just trying to get the guys to be as creative as they can, go out to a local football field, you know, try to long toss and, you know, some of that stuff, and stay in the best shape as they can. But, you know, I do think, you know, one thing is positive about it is, you know, a lot of these kids now, they have everything at their fingertips. They have a facility like ours. They have high school weight rooms. They have places they go. And, you know, some of us didn't have all that stuff growing up. And so it's good for them to see that, you know, you can add strength without weights. You know, you can add agility without a speed and strength coach out there with a stopwatch. You know, you can get creative to get better. And, you know, a good example of that is, you know, I've been fortunate to see a lot of Latin American players who grow up with not very much either, and you can hit bottle caps with broomsticks and, work on your craft a little bit. It's just about being creative and seeing how bad you want to do it. I mean, if you want to sit in a house and, just play video games all the time, or, go outside and try to be creative and see what you can do to get better. And we'll see. It's going to be very interesting when all this stuff clears. You're going to be able to tell who's been working and who hadn't been working.
Yeah, I think that creativity is key because, I think you're going to be able to tell right away who's been doing maybe some T work, or you don't have to have anything to do T work. You can figure out how to create the T side. I mean, if you go on social media, I've seen guys with windshield wiper fluid doing squats in their living room. And,
no doubt.
And then, my whole gym at my house has completely changed because, you get to a point where you're used to having, an LA Fitness or some big box fitness program that you've got access to everything. You just don't have it. And it's, how many things can you pick up to add weight, to do some squats? Right. And our guy Landon here, I caught him on a video at his house with windshield wiper fluid doing squats in his house. And I mean, I was pretty impressed by it, but it's those guys. I think there's one on social right now that, maybe the brother is shooting the little pellet Nerf gun and it comes out of the ball and some guy's just raking up against his garage.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, there's a lot of that, I mean, again, I'm older than a lot of you guys, but, I can remember we had a, when I was growing up, my house had a fairly steep roof pitch, and I would get on one side of the house and I'd throw a tennis ball and kind of roll it up the roof and try to run around the house and make diving catches as it came on the back side of the house. And, I've seen my son in the garage hitting tennis balls against the garage wall, and he's hitting it with a racket and then trying to backhand it with his glove hand. And, just trying to get creative the best they can. But it is that there are some good things out of this, spending some more time with family, learning your creative side, knowing how good you had it before. Hopefully some of that stuff sticks with these kids and they come out of it saying, man, that really sucked, but I learned some things about myself that maybe will help me later in life.
For sure. What's one of your favorite sports movies?
Favorite sports movies? Man, I've got a lot. And you got to remember.
Hey, Randy, uncover your mic.
What?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh. Is there a mic in there?
Somewhere. It's not in that flower up there. I know that.
Favorite sports movies, I like Remember the Titans a lot. As a coach, you kind of like, that. And as I was a junior college coach and, some of that kind of hardcore coaching stuff, I kind of liked. Most of the baseball movies are pretty good. I like The Natural, Bull Durham, some of the classics. But I'd say Remember the Titans is the one that when it's on TV, I never turn away from it.
I thought you were going to say Tin Cup with your golf background.
I love Tin Cup. Absolutely love Tin Cup as a movie. Kevin Costner and Renee Russo in her prime. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Hey, back to the Nationals. I know you guys have had a lot of success that maybe some programs haven't with regards to draft picks and NCAA signees and stuff. How are some of those guys doing now? Maybe, what have you seen, how that progress has come about with having so many of those guys either get signed or move on to the next level?
Well, it's been really good. We've been fortunate. We've had, I think almost 600 college signs. We had 90 draft picks, 9 big leaguers. We've had a lot of good players this spring, which kind of stinks, but we had 75 guys that were either playing college baseball or in affiliated spring training. And, so it has been a really great journey doing that. And these guys have been so good to give back. We started something this week where I asked our alumni to write kind of email letters to all of our current Nats players about minor league baseball, college baseball, different things, and that's been really cool to be able to do that as well. But yeah, it's been a blast over all these years, seeing these guys kind of reach their dreams, and hopefully they continue to give back and help the next generation and see what that's really like.
Yeah. So as we kind of progress towards what our tournament season, from Mid-America baseball side, Pastime side, what are some of the events that your guys look forward to the most? And it doesn't have to be, a Pastime or a Mid-America event. We know that there are other hosts out there that do a great job. Premier's a different experience that a lot of programs they're not going to be able to experience something like that, where you've got, a group of great programs around the country and in that region that get together every year for the Premier World Series, which is a cool thing to do. But what are some of those key events that those guys like to go to? And is it, that travel side, you guys travel differently than a lot of programs. That's that experience that they get that, most programs just don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, as far as kind of standard every year events that the guys really like, Premier's kind of been ingrained in our program. It's a different kind of animal. It's a Tuesday through Sunday. It's 9 games to win it. You see those guys every year from the time you're 14 all the way through 17, and so that's something that they look forward to trying to compete in. The Marucci things become really big in Baton Rouge, and not necessarily because of the the venues or the teams as much, but the opening ceremonies and the way Marucci kind of rolls out the red carpet for that, and hosts everybody at Alex Box Stadium and feeds the kids and does the home run derby and has all their Marucci product out there. It's a pretty cool event. But then our kids really like to go places they've never been before. I think last year or 2 years ago, one of my teams went to a Pastime event at Notre Dame, and we had not played at Notre Dame since 2006. So it'd been a while since we've been there. We played at Louisville last year with the bunch I had, and we hadn't been to Louisville since 2009. And so going to some places that these kids haven't been to, they really do like that, like seeing different, fields. But as all these kids like to do, they really like to see the universities they see on TV, Louisville, Vanderbilt's, they think that's pretty cool to be able to do that. But, I would say that those type of events are really what the kids look forward to.
Yeah.
And our guys really like to compete, so we're not real big on the showcase type formats. We like to have a winner, even if it's, one of the T-shirts, that you get for the championship, or even just a recognition. But if our guys have something to play for at the end, it's really important to them.
Yeah, I think that's the two different experiences on the tournament side that, tournament hosts like us have to figure out is, I think there is a place for that showcase only format, round robin, whether it's 5 or 6 games or whatever. And then, if you're an athlete, everybody wants to have that bracket format. You want to be able to go out and beat 3 or 4 guys in a row and win something, whether it's a T-shirt or not. I think when you get to our level and within our space of high school guys, I don't know that many of them want trophies. I know there's some parents that still want to get that trophy for their kid, but I think it's for them, it's the ability to say, hey, we won that tournament. There was, 40, 50, 120 teams in that thing, and we came out on top. Obviously our national is a little different. We have rings and stuff like that. But, I've always thought as a competitor myself that bracket play, that you just can't beat that. If you lose, you're out. And if you can win it all, you're good to go.
I'll tell you something, that's pretty funny is that, obviously I fought you on the T-shirt thing, whenever, Pastime was doing the T-shirts, Mid-America's never done the T-shirts. And I kind of fought you on that. But what was really cool is last year, our 16U team that I coached, we won 5 tournaments in a row, and to start the summer off. And after the first one, the kids would go up to the gal selling the T-shirts, and they'd say, "Hey, what color if we win this week?" And they wanted to add the whole color spectrum. And so I'd see our kids, and they had a maroon Mid-America Championship and a blue and a yellow and a green. And, you know, they really got a kick out of trying to, you know, see how many colors of shirts they could win over the summer. And so that is a very simple thing. But, you know, as a coach, when you hear kids in the dugout talking about, man, I want that gold T-shirt. That thing looks pretty sweet. Then, you know, whatever extra motivation you can give them, I'm all about.
For sure.
Are there any top prospects or guys that have signed some big places this year for your 18s or 17s that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, you know, kind of our top prospect who's in the 2020 class is Reed Metz. He signed at the University of Tennessee. I've had a long-time relationship with Tony Vitello, a good friend of mine. You know, he was at Mizzou and then TCU and then Arkansas, so he'd kind of been in our region. And now he's the head coach at Tennessee. Reed's 6'5", 230, you know, right-handed hitting, first baseman, has all the tools. Thomas Kane is going to SLU, a really good player. We've got a really top prospect right-handed pitcher named Garrett Hunter, who's going to Central Missouri. Unfortunately for you, Landon, if you ever run across the mules at Central Missouri, you know, Garrett's going there. I think he's going to play baseball for a long time. But we've got a lot of good players there. Our 21 class is maybe not with that super freak like the Mets kid going to Tennessee, but we have a lot of really, really good players in that class. We're deep in that class. And then our 22 class has some real high-end guys, some prospect guys. We've got the top hitter in the Midwest, 6'4", 220, left-handed hitting sophomore. He's committed to Missouri State. Looks like he's going to be a pretty high draft pick. And we've got a 92, 93 mile an hour right-handed guy, 6'6", in that class. And so it's just interesting year to year. You know, the senior class has some good ones. Our junior class, really kind of a scrappy dirt ball type of, you know, baseball guys, maybe not as high-end guys, but all of them are going to play baseball for a long time. And then the 22 class has got some of the big high-profile draft type guys.
Yeah, hey Randy, I know we usually close with asking, you know, what makes a guy like a Nats kind of guy, but I think for you, just knowing you, I know a lot of people may not know exactly who you are, but I think there's a large enough number that know that you don't wear anything other than sweatpants.
Yeah.
For me, the first time I really met you face to face was at a steakhouse with sweatpants on. What sets apart one pair of sweatpants as opposed to the other? What's that it factor that you go for when you're looking for those sweatpants?
You know, it's all about for me, it's seasonal. You know, I mean, you want the kind of wool, you know, warmer ones in the winter. You can find those thinner ones that you can wear, you know, kind of year round around the house. You know, so it's a comfort thing. You definitely have some that you can kind of camouflage as a little dressier. You know, you don't want ones with stripes, you know, if you're going to go to a steakhouse. You want kind of a solid color that maybe you can fool somebody into thinking those are loose fitting slacks. You know, and so you know, there's definitely some technique and strategy to it, but hey, over 20 years, I've kind of mastered it.
Yeah. I mean, you pulled it off. St. Elmo's had no clue. They didn't know what was coming in for that little trip we had, but thanks for coming on. I know I had to bug you a little bit. I'm going to call Tate real quick and make sure he's working on some teams for Mid-America. And then hopefully we get back to playing soon and this thing passes.
I hope so, man. You guys hang in there, and hopefully we'll all be out on the field soon.
All right. Thanks, man.
See you, Randy.
You guys.